the transfer trailer. So from January to May, we took 5 to 7 trips a week. June to December, we've taken 3 trips a week to the landfill, and that's it. If we figure the cost savings at about $1.38 a mile, and that's for maintenance, that's for fuel, that's for everything associated with that semi. With a reduction of about 200 miles a week for 30.5 weeks, and that's since June 1st, we've saved $8,418. For the canister truck, during calendar year 18 and up until the end of May 2019, we were putting an average of 900 miles a week on that canister truck. And sometimes, especially during May of last year, we probably put over 1,000 miles a week on that. From June through December this year, the average has been about 600 miles a week. So that's a huge reduction. And the canister truck is old. We've had it for a while. So again, taking that cost savings of $1.38 per mile with a reduction of 300 miles a week for 30.5 weeks, that translates into $12,627 in savings. So then looking at revenues that we had not previously captured. So we had 575 instances of non-household waste being deposited. Most of it was done up at the transfer station, but some is done at the canister sites. And the way that we do that is we have sheets that we have the attendant fill out that identifies what it was and what the charge is, and then those sheets are taken up to the transfer station and we invoice people. So we don't accept any money at any of the canister sites. So we had 575 instances of that since June 1st. And then we were able to capture 29 additional assessments. And those assessments were from either existing homes that had never paid the fee, which was most of them. We do have, I think, maybe 4 out-of-district users. So those are people outside our solid waste district. The solid waste district line is the 101 road. It's the same as our fire district. And so if you're south of that, you're out of our district. There are some people that have chosen to pay the assessment so that they can use our facilities. So, like I said, we had 29 instances of that. So from June to December of 2019, taking in the non-household waste and the assessments from those fee payers, the total revenue that we have received is $39,376.03. So I have 2 pie charts there, and it just shows that of these additional revenues, 13.6% of those monies came from the people that either were never assessed or from out-of-district users. So 86.4% of those revenues come from non-household waste. And that could be, you know, it's primarily construction waste that we're seeing. We saw a lot of shingles this fall. We're still getting some shingles in spite of the cold weather, but for the most part, things are going very well in solid waste, and I'm pleased with what we're seeing there. So, do you have any questions on that?
Gentlemen, any questions for Mary?
No, I mean it's encouraging. You know, when we brought this plan forward, you know, we had an idea in all of it, I think, in our minds how it was going, after we implemented, how it was going to succeed. And I kind of added up your savings and your revenues, and altogether your savings is you know, almost $54,500. And so you cut your overhead costs by that. I think that's great. And your revenues, you realized $39,376. So for a total of $93,874 of savings and revenue that that's just in basically a 6-month period.
7 months.
7-month period,
Yes.
okay.
Yes,
So that's pretty encouraging,
yes, I'm very
and I think it
encouraged by
shows that the plan is working.
Yes. Yes, I
Oh.
believe so.
And I know we've talked about this, the things to keep in mind is we know that we have some debt to retire, and also part of this plan is to continue to help build your cash reserves and build your CIP.
Yes,
So I think that, like I said, the plan is working, and I think we're on track for the goals that we set for ourselves.
yes. I do realize that we'll probably, we will probably see a deficit the end of June, just based on how we receive the assessments and, how they're billed and how they're received. But I don't anticipate it being that high when we again look at how things are billed and how they're received. So it will, like I said earlier, it will take a couple of years to get out of this, but my primary objective is to be able to build a CIP. Because right now, we don't have any way to, other than a loan, other than an intercap loan, we don't have any way to replace any equipment that we have. And the guys have taken really good care of the excavator. They've taken great care of the loader up there. So, as long as we can continue to do the maintenance that we need to do on that, I'm not anticipating any big problems there, so. Yeah.
Any other questions? Anyone? Yes, sir.
My name's Steve Kirk, I live on Old Town Road, and just talking about the south of the garbage district, just a point I wanted to bring up. You could tell when you closed the transfer stations and everything down here. Old Town Road, Price Road, all those down there are just, they're getting tons of garbage stored in the ditches. Right, when I came in this morning, I see a refrigerator and a cook stove laying in the ditch on Old Town. But that was, we noticed that that's when it really started picking up, was about that time.
And they are located outside the district.
And that's why I say it's south
Yes.
of the district.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that used it at that time and didn't pay for it.
Yep. And one thing that I did, so I did follow up with the sheriff's department last week. I did have a question just right before Christmas on those appliances. They had called me, but number one, they're outside of our district. Number two, as a landowner, landowners own to the center of the road. We only have an easement for maintenance. So it's not the county's charge to pick that stuff up. So it's the landowner's responsibility. And that's what I want people to understand, is if they're throwing things out, they're causing landowners that own that property to incur that disposal expense. So, because the county does not own it. We have the easement for maintenance. So, and I believe that question came up last week in the commission meeting. So I did clarify that with them.
Thank you.
You bet.
And in the future, that could be a topic for a newsletter, to let
It is.
people know that.
The unfortunate thing of that is, we have no idea who did it. It could be somebody from who knows where
Right.
that said, hey, I'm gonna kick this off. It might not be even one of our own residents. You know what I'm saying? We just don't know.
Right.
And so it's unfortunate that that it's happening, and
Yes.
Yeah, because they're not easy to get rid of with a refrigerator.
Right.
Well, and they could be brought up, I'm sure that Logan, because I believe most people down south of 101 use the Logan landfill.
Yeah.
I don't know if Logan charges, they shouldn't charge.
They told me I can't bring it in. It'd cost me about $38 to have them inspected.
Right,
and
because
then
it has
plus
to
the
be
tipping
evacuated.
fee. And
Yeah,
I've got a refrigerator in my backyard right now that I picked up out of the ditch in front of my house here a year ago. I don't wanna haul it in and get rid of it, but.
Well,
that's
and
why I have to.
we take that for free at the transfer station, with the exception of refrigerators, because we have to certify that we've had the Freon removal, so we charge $25 for refrigerators, but all the other metal, it goes into our metal pile, and we don't charge for that. So that is an option, but because that certification, if we don't certify, it's a Clean Air Act violation, and it's $10,000 per day per violation. And I don't want to put the county in that kind of a position, so, yep,
Thank you, Mary.
you bet.
Tim, did you have a question?
Tim Ravendall. This time I'm coming up as a citizen that has been attending and following this. I attended the first meeting in Toston that was in the fall, getting this plan moving forward. I've been contacted personally by a lot of people wondering what's going on. But I attended that meeting. I also attended the meeting in Winston. One of the big things that was really a concern that I saw then, and I heard it again today, is the fact that we were talking about where is the financial status of the solid waste department. And back in the October meetings, the presentation to the public was based on estimates and possible savings and possible costs, but there was nothing really solid and confirmed at that time. At the time of those presentations, it was presented that the solid waste department was $178,000. I think that was the figure used again this morning. In reality, at that particular time, the debt was in the neighborhood of $330,000, according to the documents that we were provided. In reality. And here we are, talking about spending more money in the solid waste department, gaining, which I can see there is a plan that's moving forward. But what I'm not wondering is what is the status of that debt? And we are paying a payment on a loan to bail that department out to make it solvent. Yet, this was not discussed. So I'm still concerned about those numbers that are being used based on estimates. Thank you.
So I do actually will provide some clarification. So the solid waste fund is like a business account, okay? You can't run your business at a deficit. It's not possible. So we did increase the assessment because the auditors told the department prior to my getting here to raise the fees to cover the debt. So that we could take all that into consideration. Now, the only thing that we could do at the time we developed this, Tim, was to use estimates. There's no way that I knew what things were going to cost because we hadn't built it yet. We hadn't made any modifications yet. So that was the reason why we did that. When I started in May of 2018, that deficit at the end of June was about between $170,000 and $180,000. Now you're going to have, when you run a cash balance report, you're going to have pluses and negatives, especially when you start out with a negative balance. You're going to have an influx of money when those assessments are paid, typically November and May. You'll have some money in there, but it's still, what's going to come off of there first is that deficit. So depending upon when that, I'm not sure what report you're speaking of, so depending upon when that report was generated, sure, it could be a negative $330,000. It could very well be.
And that's the reality that we were looking at.
And it may have been because your report was dated, after my report. So the reality is, it is working.
And also, Daryl, would you repeat the numbers that you shared, the savings that you added up?
Sure.
Just for clarity.
So on the
Before you
savings,
do that,
No.
Madam Chair,
No.
just really want to make it real clear. It's real
Please
easy,
wait,
and I'll take
Tim.
just a
Please
second.
wait. You asked a question. Mary answered part of it. I've asked Daryl to answer part of
Okay.
it. Please wait. Thank you.
sure, the savings were $54,498. Revenue $39,376 for a total of $93,874.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tim, please state your name again for the
Tim
folks who can't see
Ravendall,
you.
citizen, Broadwater County. And again, I think I'm just going to focus on the one figure that came up regularly at the meetings and the discussions back last fall, trying to get this onto the front page of doing what needed to be done. It was stated then, it's still stated today, that it was $178,000 in debt. I personally asked Public Works Director, what was the issue with having a display in October stating $178,000 deficit, when in actuality that deficit was $300,000 plus. And that carried over to the next meeting, and I did not make the one at the Cedar Street, but it was continually carried over using them same figures. Also based on the fact that it's cost, based on $1.38, it was stated earlier, those are estimates still today.
Those are nationally.
Anyway, I'm gonna just stop there and thank you for your time.
So what I will say is that $180,000 deficit, Tim, was for the end of the fiscal year. So I'm confused as to where the negative 330,000 comes from, but I suspect it was from a report that was run after that, okay? Before we got the assessments in November. That's what makes sense to me, okay?
So what's the debt today?
Okay, Tim, that's enough.
So, anyhow, so the $1.38 is actually based on nationally, it's a nationally recognized number in the trucking industry. It's not something that I just pulled out of the hat. I actually went and did some research on, you know, what's out there. What do people make these estimates on? So right now, today, what is our debt? Our debt is, let's see here. My glasses.
And I don't know if we necessarily need that, because it, like you said, it's a shot in time. It's a
Yes,
snapshot in time.
Right.
What we're talking about is the overall
Right.
health of this department.
yes,
So I think if we start taking snapshots here and there and start using them as the only number we're gonna sit on, I think it's misleading.
Yeah.
So let's not even go there.
okay.
I think you've done an excellent job in that department. John Hahn, as chair of that board, you guys have hit it out of the park. You guys have really done a tremendous job, and I appreciate the work you've done with Mary to turn this department around. And this report is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just one thing I want to add, and I didn't print that out. What I printed out was the tax billing and where I'm at in terms of the available appropriation. So for the tax bills that went out for 2019, the assessment total was $500,795. And that's up from, you know, my recollection, I didn't print it out for 2018, but it seems to me in 2018 it was about $373,000 just for the assessments. So that's real property and mobiles, and that's based on the fee increase. And the fee increase was necessary. The department does have to pay, it has to fund itself. And that's the nature of the way solid waste departments are set up in counties. It gets no money from the general fund. So, right, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Well done.
Thank you.
All right, 11 o'clock, Nicole Brown, Community Development Coordinator, County Board Appointments.
There's 3 copies here, if you'd pass those around, please. Good morning. For the record, my name is Nicole Brown. I'm the Community Development Director for Broadwater County. So what you have coming around is a list of all of the boards that are managed by you, the commissioners of Broadwater County. Next to the name of the board, I've listed the number of vacancies. And as we've spoke previously, vacancies are any expiring terms on that board. So even though we'll see board members that wish to continue serving on that board, I still identify that as a vacancy. So we've got 3 boards on here that I've starred for you. Those boards have members who have been vetted by the membership of that board. So I feel confident that you could make a decision on appointing those members today.
Okay. Well, those are the ones that are started.
The ones that yes, it's the pen
Gotcha.
mark that I starred on those 3 boards. The other boards, I have applicants, if you will, but I've not heard back from the membership of that board as to whether or not the members they're picking, so say like airport board, we have more applicants than we have vacancies. I've not heard back from the airport board on who they would prefer you appoint to that board, even though the final authority does lie with you 3. I also have on here the LAC on mental health. I don't know that you have ever set a number on membership for that board. If you do have a number on membership, I am not privy to that information. I think that has been a board that in the past has been the more the merrier, that you don't have a number on membership. But if I'm wrong, certainly let me know. That's why there's a question mark on the vacancies, because I truly don't know.
That one is set up much like the one we just did recently for the team for at-risk youth. It's a resolution that created that board, and the positions that we have fill a particular need versus a number of people. So that's why you don't have the number.
Okay.
It's a little bit different structure than the other boards.
Do we need to select, like I don't know, on the LAC, I've been attending some of them, and do we need to select like a chairman and vice chair for for grant purposes? Do they need to have that kind of structure?
We don't appoint that would
Yeah.
be done by the board.
Done within themselves, right?
Mhm. Every
Yeah.
board should have the
Right.
chair and vice chair, because you have to have somebody operating the meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So with that being said, is it your preference to move forward on the 3 boards that have been, membership that has been vetted by the remaining membership of the board?
Seems to me we could do at least those 3, and there's another couple as well, the fair board that shows 2 vacancies and 2 people interested. Museum, we have 3 vacancies and 3 people interested. Weed board, we have 2 vacancies and 1 person interested. Solid waste, 4 vacancies and 1 person interested. And Parks and Rec, 2 vacancies and 1 person interested. So we could add those to the list and hold off on the others if you want. What's your thoughts?
Yes, you really do only have 1 board with more applicants than positions. So that one I do feel the membership of that board probably should weigh in. And I've asked twice now, but haven't heard back from that board, so I'll ask a 3rd time.
We just got an email today that they have a meeting coming up,
Okay,
so we should be able to have an answer perhaps for the next meeting or the one after that.
perfect. So if it is your preference to move forward, as you discussed, Commissioner Obert, I certainly can read through these boards and the membership if the commission would like.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we should probably do the ones that we can.
Okay?
All right. Would you start at the top?
Absolutely. So, excuse me, airport board, there's the board currently with 2 vacancies and 4 members, so that one I would suggest that you wait. Trust board, there are 3 vacancies. I have 3 applicants for voting positions and 2 applicants for non-voting. For voting positions, I'm sorry.
Appears we have 4 for voting positions.
I'm sorry, yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. So trust board, 3 vacancies, 4 applicants for voting. One of those voting applicants would be interested in serving in a non-voting capacity also, and then 1 non-voting position. So for the voting positions of the trust board, I have Joe Jepson, Kim Kondelik, Virgil Binkley, and Doug Brecker. For the non-voting positions, I have Doug Brecker and Mike Evans. And I suppose I should ask here, do you want me to read through this list, or do you want to address each board individually?
I would request each board individually,
Okay.
I think it's more clear for the public.
Perfect. I will pause there then.
So one thing we have talked about in a number of meetings, and this started last January, is for boards where we have people who have served for a very long time, term limits. Now, instead of imposing strict or finite term limits, what we talked about was if there's somebody who wants to come onto a board and members have been there a very long time, we will give that new person an opportunity, rather than once you get onto a board, it's a lifetime appointment, because that doesn't give anyone else in the community a chance to serve. So I would suggest for the trust board that we give Doug Brecker a voting member position on that board with that in mind. And again, this has been discussed, I don't know, a handful of times easily, if not more than that.
Let's see, Joe here, did Joe talk to you, Joe Jepson?
He did not talk to me, but I do have a letter.
Okay.
For each of these positions, I have
Yeah.
either a letter or an email,
Yeah, let's read that letter from Joe Jepson,
certainly. Do you want me just to read it aloud?
please.
It's pretty brief. This is dated November 13th, 2019, regarding the expiring term on Broadwater Trust Board. Dear Broadwater County Commissioners, I would like to continue to serve as a voting member of the Broadwater County Trust Board. I look forward to continuing to contribute to the recreational development of Broadwater County. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Joe Jepson.
For comparison, could you please read Doug Brecker's?
Yes, ma'am. So this letter is dated November 18th, 2019, regarding the term on Broadwater Trust Board. Dear Broadwater County Commissioners, I would like to join the Broadwater County Trust Board as a non-voting or voting member. Years ago, I was a board member, and now that I am retired, I feel I have more time to devote to this critically important community board. I am an outdoor enthusiast and therefore can provide direction and experience as a board member. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Doug Brecker.
You guys have more experience than I do with the members that have been there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not quite sure who's all been there for, all your thoughts as far as for maybe a term limit or something like that.
I don't know if we have that. Debbie may, and we can ask her if we don't. But I will tell you, since I started on the board, it's been the same board.
Okay.
So, well, it's been at least a decade.
Okay. Okay.
Non-voting members in the past were Beth Eiley and Bill Huber, and then a few others, but those two pretty consistently wanted to have a voice on the trust board and were denied year after year after year. That's one of the things that started people talking about, well, it's a lifetime appointment. We were exclusionary rather than inclusive, and that's why when it was brought to us that we should have some kind of term limits, it made sense, and a lot of people have supported that.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it's been at least a decade. I don't know. Debbie, do you have with you
I
how
don't have
long?
with me.
Okay.
Kim Martinson was on the board until 3 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago,
2
if
years
not
ago.
last
I
year.
don't have the list in front of me.
Yeah, so Al is relatively new, if not.
Mike.
Yeah,
I could help clear that up. Doug and I, we both resigned from that board about the same year, which has been, I'm thinking, 10 to 12 years ago, we were right kind of about the same time.
Thank you. One other thing, Nicole, that I would like is, can we see the letters for Joe, Kim, and Virgil, the ones on the board now, and the letter from Doug as well?
And I apologize, I only have that one copy, I didn't make copies of the
That's
others,
okay.
so.
Yeah, I gave you all copies a month ago or whenever it was.
Yeah.
Did you receive any recommendations from the trust board on this at all?
I did, yes, not in writing, or not that I brought with me. But the trust board did recommend, or do you want me to respond to that with who the trust board recommended? Is that what you're asking? Okay. The trust board recommended Joe Jepson, Kim Kondelik, and Virgil Binkley to voting positions, Doug Brecker and Mike Evans to non-voting positions.
So one of the issues that, not even issues, but a point that we need to think about is, again, the trust board has been a unit, and frankly, being in such a core unit kind of got into groupthink. Some things were done that shouldn't have been. We addressed that last year. Not gonna go into that, it was a closed-door discussion. We did appoint a new member, and things have changed drastically since his appointment 2 years ago. What we have in front of us is, yes, the trust board wants the same core, but we have somebody who wants to be a member who has history from previous, but no current history. What we have is, again, groupthink. We have a secretary who wrote 2 letters that are exactly the same in wording, and that is for Kim Kondelik and Joe Jepson. There is no difference except for the titles of the persons. Virgil wrote his own letter, and it's quite lengthy, and he talks about his experience. Doug also has a letter here that is unique, which makes me believe that this is, even though it's signed by Debbie, not by Doug, but it looks to me like it's a letter from Doug. So I would advocate strongly that we appoint Doug as a voting member, not against anyone else, but to get us out of the groupthink with the trust board, restore some faith in the overall structure of Broadwater County boards, and for respect of our citizens.
Any other comment?
Certainly. I will have you come up to the podium.
I will, happy to. The 2 letters that were written the same, I don't remember if Joe had me, came in my office, we discussed it. Then I showed it to Kim or the other way around. So I did not write those. One of those was written together with either Joe or Kim. Showed to the other one. They said, yeah, that looks great. So I take offense to that, I wrote them.
Perhaps you didn't write them, and I didn't know that, but based on the fact they were exactly
Right,
the
but
same.
you
it's an
stated that I
easy-
wrote them.
It's an easy
It's
assumption to
their
make.
words, absolutely.
But
So
I
wanted to
will say,
clarify.
Debbie, that any board member should be writing their own letter, especially if there is a contested seat. It just doesn't look as good. This is not personal to you. It's not personal to these board members. I have extreme worries about the trust board. I've voiced that with all of you. You're sitting on, we learned the other day, upwards of $3 million. There needs to be more transparency with your board, and we have not had that. So what I say, I stand by. I am sorry that you were offended. You didn't
No, I
write the
was not
letters, that's
offended.
fine.
I wanted to correct.
Thank
your
you for
statement.
that. But I'm gonna stand by what I said. I think this is better for the citizens of Broadwater County to allow interested persons to have a seat on a board when there's been a very long time for members serving. These should not be lifetime appointment boards where nobody else is allowed.
The trust board wrote the letter to Nicole or email or whatever it was about Kim, Joe, and Virgil before we found out Doug Brecker. Trust board has
Fine.
absolutely no issue with Doug Brecker being on the board, endorses that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. There's been a lot of emotion with the trust board this past year. It's my hope that we can go ahead and continue to circulate some new ideas onto that board and move away from that. None of this is personal. It is 100% how to best serve all the citizens of Broadwater County, and that's 6,000 people roughly. So, gentlemen, how do you want to move forward?
Well, I would certainly support that, Doug becoming a new voting member, but I'm not sure who we're gonna release.
Do you want to start with the motion for Doug and then deal with the others one by one?
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, I forgot to say something.
I'm gonna have you wait till we have a motion, and then we'll take public comment.
I guess we could do it that way. So, I guess I'll make a motion that Doug Brecker become a voting member on the trust board.
I'll second the motion.
And for how long? Do you want to do the
Yeah.
1 year? And then for the others who have already been on it, do 2, so we have them staggered?
Yeah, we need to stagger it out.
For other board, well, what we have done, and Nicole, I know you've been working on this. Do you want to table that till we know what position? Would that be better? We have 2 right now that expire next year, and 3 that expire this year. If we did the new member for 2 years, that'd be 2021, and the 2 existing members for 3 years, that'd be 2022. Does that sound good? For a 2, 2, and 1 stagger?
That'd work.
Yeah.
Okay, so would a friendly amendment to 2-year term for Doug work for you guys?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to appoint Doug Brecker to a 2-year term on the trust board. Is there any public comment?
My comment was not specifically about that, but, oh, sorry. Just an idea, if you're considering removing Joe Jepson or any of these other people from the board, you can move one of them to non-voting member. Then we keep their history, their education, their background from it, and they could still be involved. That was my statement.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other public comment? Okay, those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. here's the letters again if you guys want.
So do we need to have a vote for Mike Evans for non-voting then?
Yeah, for clarity, we should do that.
So I'll make the motion to approve Mike Evans for as a non-voting member.
And I'll second that motion. Would that be for a 2-year term as well?
Whatever you guys want. I would suggest 3 because it's non-voting, we can
Okay.
always move that up if you wanted to.
Okay. All right.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve Mike Evans for a 3-year, non-voting term to the trust board. Any public comment? Public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right. I would venture a opinion on who I think should be the next person for 3 years would be Kim Kondelik. Her performance in the last meeting, she had done her homework, she came prepared, she asked good questions that showed research. So if either of you agrees with that, I would vote for that motion. Or I could make it, either way.
Yeah, that'd be for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I will move that we appoint Kim Kondelik to a 3-year term on the trust board.
I'll second.
Yeah, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Kim Kondelik to a 3-year term on the trust board. Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I guess with that, then maybe the next thing would maybe if we want to say, I would suggest Virgil to stay on with his experience, and then maybe Joe become a non-voting member.
I'll second that. Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
I'll second the motion.
So the motion is to appoint Virgil Binkley to a 3-year term on the trust board and Joe Jepson to a non-voting 3-year term on the trust board. Any public comment? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right. These should all be more smooth now. Would you take us to the tax appeal board,
I will.
Nicole? Thank you.
So on the tax appeal board, we currently have 2 vacancies and 2 applicants, Chris Wright and Craig Viets. Chris Wright is an existing board member, enthusiastically wishes to stay on that board, his words.
Good.
So 2 vacancies, 2 applicants, Chris Wright and Craig Viets.
Craig was a school administrator for many years, and he is, John is gone, he knows John Hahn, but I think he would definitely bring something to that board. Wisdom, perhaps brilliance, he's very thoughtful, meticulous, and professional. So's Chris.
Okay. What do we want to do for terms on these?
Currently, our 3rd board member here in the room, Mr. Longlinay, his term will expire the end of this year, 2020. So my suggestion would be to make one of these a 2-year and one a 3-year.
That's what I was thinking. Was yours a 3 years? Yeah, just a 1 year? Okay.
Kind of a 1.5. We
Yeah,
quickly had to add him at the
okay.
4th quarter of last year.
All right. I guess then I'll make a motion to Chris Wright for a 3-year term, Craig Viets for a 2-year term.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Chris Wright to a 3-year term on the tax appeal board and Craig Viets to a 2-year term on the tax appeal board. Any public comment? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And since I was throwing out the word brilliant, I guess I have to apply that to the 3rd member of the tax appeal board, Jeff. Would you take us to the Fair Board?
I will. Fair Board, we have 2 vacancies and 2 applicants. The applicants are John Rouser and Lisa Larson. Who both currently serve on that board.
They've both done a wonderful job on the fair. If they're still interested in serving, I think that'd be great. What terms did they have before, or years?
They both were serving 3-year terms.
Okay,
Looking at the board as a whole, we have 1 member who will expire this year, 2020. 2 members will expire this year, 2020. 1 for 2021.
So we could do a 3-year term and maintain, because this
Sure.
board is pretty, is right on target
okay.
Correct.
for expirations.
All right, so then a motion be for John Rouser, Lisa Larson for 3-year terms.
I'll second the motion.
So we moved and seconded to appoint John Rouser and Lisa Larson, each to 3-year terms on the Fair Board. Any public comment? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now, Karen Noyes has an expiration this year with a question mark?
Yes, I got some clarification. That letter was, I did not bring that letter. I believe I was out of the office when that came forward. You appointed her to a 2-year term, so her term will actually expire this year, 2020. So if you're, or is this the,
Sure.
I imagine what you're looking at here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So that question mark has been answered, 12/31/2020.
Thank you very much. Would you take us then to the Museum Board?
I will. The Museum Board is our largest board in the county, meaning the most members. Currently, there are 3 vacancies on the Museum Board, and I have 3 applicants. 1 is a John Larson, 2, Paul Putz, and 3, Chuck McLean. John Larson will be brand new to this board. Paul Putz and Chuck McLean have been serving on this board, wish to continue service.
If you look at your spreadsheet, it shows that of the members, we have a vast number that expire in 2020. It's still pretty well balanced. We have 5, and then 19, this year's, we have 3, and then for 21, we have 3. So, motion can be whatever you guys want, but I would suggest that we do all 3 of these to a 3-year term, so that we don't get too many expiring in 2020. Even though John Larson would be new.
Want to make that motion, Mike?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve all 3 applicants for 3-year terms.
No, second?
It's been moved and seconded to appoint John Larson, Paul Putz, and Chuck McLean to 3-year terms each on the Museum Board. Any public comment? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. How about the Planning Board, Nicole?
Certainly. So I noticed as I was looking at this, I did have 4 vacancies on there. We actually only have 3 vacancies. This is a 5-member board. We had 1 non-voting member. So I apologize, that 4 should actually be 3. There were 3 vacancies. And up until just the end of last week, I did have 4 applicants. Unfortunately, Jeannie Steele no longer wishes to serve on that board. So make that change also, please. So for planning, for clarification, we have 3 vacancies, 3 applicants for voting positions. The applicants are Herb Argabright, Ross Johnson, and Chad Cosell.
Okay. And the 2 remaining members, where are they at in their terms?
20 and
1 will
21.
expire, I'm sorry, yes,
20 and
thank you.
21?
Mhm.
Okay.
We would be wise to select one of those 3 to a 2-year
Mhm.
and the other 2 to 3 years so that we don't have such a buildup of
Right.
folks in 1 year.
Mhm.
Planning Board, we can do a 3-year term, correct, or is it only 2?
We've done 3-year in the past.
Okay.
And Chad Cosell was previously our non-voting member, but he would like to serve in a voting capacity, and he's done well by the planning board. He does his research.
He and Ross Johnson have both been
Yes, done a good job.
exquisite planning board members. They not only come to meetings having done their homework, but they are actually both really good at working with not only Nicole, but the rest of the planning board.
I guess so. I'll make a motion to Ross Johnson, Chad Cosell for a 3-year term, Herb Argerbright for a 2-year term.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Ross Johnson and Chad Cosell to 3-year terms each on the planning board and Herb Argerbright to a 2-year term on the planning board. Any public comment? Tim?
Tim Ravendall, resident, Broadwater County. On the planning board, as the commission knows, I right away volunteered to serve on this board earlier. It was stated earlier in this meeting that, there's nothing personal here, and I'm not up here to a personal point. Question I have, Ross Johnson, is this the same person that has advised the citizens of Broadwater County that he may run for county commission seat? If it is the same person, will there be a conflict of interest of that person serving on this board as well as possibly being elected? And again, it's a potential question. Maybe I got the wrong person, but there was an article in the paper that he had advised the citizens that he's interested in District 2 seat. So I'm just kind of curious of that. Again, it was stated this is not personal, but want to make sure that we get that on the air if it is possible.
Thank you. Anyone may choose to run for office, and it doesn't preclude them from serving their community. If he were elected commissioner, then we would have a vacancy on the planning board, and that would go through this process to appoint someone. But because he is just a candidate, it does not keep him from being able to run. If he were an employee or a contract employee, then that would be different. But as a citizen, he is absolutely allowed to continue to serve. Any other public comment? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. How about the weed board, Nicole?
Certainly. So the weed board currently has 2 vacancies and 1 applicant. Our applicant, Peter Rice, I know I'm certain all of you have met Peter.
Right.
Interested in continuing to serve.
Peter's done a great job on that board. So I understand that we may have a vacancy from the west end of the county, or north end of the county, is that right? Is that just someone that's not going to,
A vacancy on the weed board?
in the weed board? Is that true? So we have
That is
two-
correct, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Potter has confirmed in weed board meetings that he's not interested. They have been trying hard
Okay.
to lobby him to change his mind, and so far it looks like they have
Yeah.
been unsuccessful.
Okay.
So to have, especially with the huge grant that Jessica got us for the Elkhorns, it would be great to have somebody from that
That would be-
area.
That would be great.
Yeah,
So hopefully someone will step up. It's a hint. We want to go ahead and make Peter's appointment while we, okay. I would move that we appoint Peter Rice. He did a 1-year term last time, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so we'll appoint him for a 3-year term.
I would second that motion.
it has been moved and seconded to appoint Peter Rice to a 3-year term on the weed board. Public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Will you take us to the solid waste?
I
Board.
will.
Thank you.
Solid waste, I currently have 4 vacancies and 1 applicant. That applicant being a Daniel Davis.
How many members are on that board?
Appears to be a 5-member board.
Can I make a really quick comment?
Yes.
My three that we had two that were appointed to one-year terms. They just need to get their letters in, they're interested in continuing. Just-
Thank you.
I
That
couldn't
is
hear
good to
that, Mary.
know.
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, the three that are expired terms right now are interested in continuing on the
Oh, okay.
solid waste board.
Okay,
I will get hold of them today.
all right, good enough.
And that would be Chris Asplund, John Williams, and Frank Davis,
Okay.
who have all done just stellar jobs on that
Alright.
board. I would suggest that we do a one-year term for Daniel, if you guys are interested. The reason is, three members are expiring this year, one in 2 years. This would kind of help stagger things if we did 1 year.
And then we could get into the rotation next year, if he wants to stay.
Right.
Okay, that sounds good. I would move that we appoint Daniel Davis for a one-year term on the solid waste board.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Daniel Davis to a one-year term on the solid waste board. All those in favor, any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And how about Parks and Rec, Nicole?
Certainly. On the Parks and Recreation Board, we currently have 2 vacancies and 1 applicant, that applicant being Mr. Philip Knab. Philip has been on the board since it was formed. He wishes to continue serving.
And with the, we have 2 expiring this year, 3 next year, so
3 this
Okay.
year. 3 in 2020.
Okay.
oh, thank you. I was talking this year as a 19, but you're right.
Oh, okay, I'm
it is
sorry.
20.
Okay,
Yeah, 2 expiring now,
yes.
and 3 this year in December.
I'll make a motion to appoint Philip Knopf for a 3-year term.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Philip Knopf to a 3-year term on the Parks and Rec Board. Any public comment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So the LAC, what we should do is pull that resolution, and we didn't appoint anyone for any year terms. So it's one that we should go ahead and review, make sure we have all the pieces together, see what we're missing, and then just do a update. Nicole, you done great.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you
going to
very
take
much.
this opportunity for a PSA.
All right.
Compensation Board, we need 3 members from Broadwater County to serve on that board. If you would like more information, please contact Doug Ellis in the Clerk and Recorder's office. I believe he is the point of contact on that. The Townsend Mosquito District Board, we, unfortunately with the passing of Chuck Allen recently, we now have 2 vacancies on that board. I know Chuck was a really great member, served us well on that board, and it's unfortunate and sad. Now we have 2 vacancies on the Townsend Mosquito District Board. I have 1 vacancy on the Three Forks District Mosquito Board. Board of Health, 1 vacancy. And the Weed Board, 1 vacancy. Parks and Recreation, really fun board, really great opportunity to get involved in your community. I have 1 vacancy. That's all.
I think we have Stacy
She's already serving.
on the weed.
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, did you
Okay.
say weed?
Mosquito.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
If she is interested, I would love to.
Okay,
Yeah.
you have her down?
I do not. I do not believe I
Oh.
do.
All right,
Let me
she's
look
been
and
pretty
see here.
active
Has she?
on
Okay,
that board. I
maybe
think we
do.
just missed it.
Yep.
No, I do have her on there. You're
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
But I do have her term expiring this year, and I have not heard from her if she would like to continue.
Okay.
And Joe Gill?
I have not heard from him either.
Okay.
So, 3 vacancies on mosquito with the passing of Chuck Allen.
We recently had a mosquito meeting in Winston, and we had, I think, 2 people that were there say they would be interested.
Okay.
So would you follow up with Jessica on that and see if she can give us some names and follow up?
Certainly.
All right. Thank
I've
you.
made that ask of each of the board managers and department heads, but I will make that ask again and
Thank you.
remind them to prod their board along, or people they know.
Do the people